So the former lights were in the walkways, and when you're standing at the counter, the light is to your back and the shadow is on your work surface. Woo! Good morning. We are adding lights, upgrading kitchen lights. Real feel out here is -10. Gotta get our drop cloths freshened up a little bit. I'm seeing some dust. I don't know that there's ever been so much in a Prius before. I'm gonna try to see the end from the beginning and stage our tools and materials in a place that's not gonna get a lot of dust. I'll have to close up that stuff box when we cut this can light, but otherwise, set them once, forget it, and work around the mess. Here's a little tip. Usually the joists will be in the direction of the shortest dimension. And so we've got a large living room on the other side of this wall and kitchen. This dimension's probably close to 20. This one's about 8, and that's equal or the same for the living room. And so it reduces the framing material required when you take the shortest route. So we're gonna have to drill and fish along the joists. We've incorporated drywall repairs and the responsibility thereof into our contract so that our homeowner knows we have the responsibility to be prudent and judicious in how we handle and treat the ceiling. So the homeowner's existing situation in this kitchen is that it was remodeled before they purchased the house and moved into it. And so they've got some things that are substandard per their preferences. That's the word, preferences. So right now the switch for this light is located in the middle of the wall, which makes it inconvenient. So this is going to be the light that gets them in the back door safely. Back door, main parking area is here. We're going to relocate that switch leg to this location so that they can turn it on, get in the room, walk safely through the room, but then that's going to be their main switching location for all the rest of the overhead light. Right now we do have an older BX wire that's in this box. We're just going to leave it capped and out of the way. We're only going to introduce 2 new conductors into the box, plus a ground, 3 conductors. So we'll have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus a device makes 8 conductors. So we'll want to verify that the box fill is adequate. So the question is, we're on an unfinished basement, whether we can get the switch leg fished down to the basement without damaging the wall and back up to this box. We have no other reason to cut or disturb this wall, and it's the same paint color through most of the first floor. So if we can avoid a patch and paint, we'll go through the extra effort for our customers. What'd you find?
It's on a beam, but there are other wires that are, like, potentially, there's 2 wires going up to that outlet, and then I think there's one going to the switch on the other side of the wire there.
Okay, so we can squeeze it up there?
No, we'd have to drill another hole. The hole is only big enough for the wire that's in it.
Through the beam or just through the plate?
Through the beam.
Wood beam?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna give it a shot. We've got some remodel boxes. Do we want to go ahead and cut that box out?
This is screwed in here.
Oh.
So I think this is on the opposite side of the stud as that.
Nice. All right.
So yeah, I think we could probably drill a hole to the left of that to fish our wire up to there, or a fish stick, or fish tape. Be able to grab it there and do the same thing over there.
Sounds good. So locate that wire in the basement, drill 6 inches to the left, get on the other side of the stud. One of us on top, one of us on bottom. Might not, yeah, we'll go ahead and kill the power, remove the box, make it an easy fish.
And there's no insulation in that wall. It's an interior wall, which will make the fish.
No insulation, interior wall, plus, plus, plus. Okay, action plan. I like it. That's the light that's back ordered, so we're not going to disturb that today. That'll just be a 1-for-1 replacement when we come back for phase 2, the basement.
There's a switch behind here for it.
That's a good question. Let's just double check that. I'd hate to get wrapped up with this project and find out that that was supposed to be tied in here. There it is.
Just want to make sure that whatever we do doesn't cut power.
Yes.
We shouldn't be changing the wires too much.
You never know if the power's feeding through one of the existing lights. And okay. Let's do it. Let's cut in some can lights. I like to put the little finial knobs in the fixture to avoid losing it. Keep it all together. All right, just a little loosen. Don't have to fully remove the screws, and then it'll pivot out with about a 32nd of a turn. And do the cleaning free of charge. So we've got our switch leg, which is our black, our neutral, which is our white. Power is off at this point, and then we have an improper ground. See how that ground is just wrapped around the screw? And the hope is that there's going to be compression between the enamel of the fixture, and that's not adequate. That should be tapped, secured to the box. If you're really a purist, there should be an existing port in the box that is already listed for grounding. This being an older box, I do not see it. So what I would do is drill it and tap it to secure ground. But in this case, we're pulling the BX out. I'm going to fully remove the box. Let's take that off. Some of y'all are going to go on about lockout, tag out. Look, the switch is right there. It's fully within sight, and it's a house. It's not a plant, so I'm not going to do any lockout, tag out on killing the power. That's when you shut the breaker off. You put essentially a padlock on the breaker with a tag indicating who's working on it. Power's just off at the switch. Good to go. All right, now up inside the box here, we've got a very rusted fixture stud, and there's a nut that's holding the box to that fixture stud. I'm going to remove as much as I can get to without exacerbating the damage and repair, because what I want to do is peel this wire back to our first can light to avoid having to refit, fish, and cut down to the switch. I'm hoping that this location and the route and length of the wire match up, because those can housings are metal. So if I bring that BX into the housing, I'm going to ground the jacket to the box. That's what I'm looking for. Right now, time to do. Oh, I'll get this out of the way. So what we've got here is, during the original remodel, that left switch is a 3-way switch, and you can tell because it doesn't say off and on. Like the single pole says off and on. This 3-way, not so, because on could be up or down, and likewise with off. So this is wired through the light to that location. It's so nice. Beautiful to have all the overhead lights accessible, the controls accessible at both of the points of main entry. And so a little pivot here in the project, a little extra effort, a little extra cost to swap this box out to a 2-gang, which is kind of nice, removing it from the wall for our fish up from the basement when we relocate this switch to over here, and then convenience for the customer. So we're going to tone out the old wiring, the BX. It's definitely seen some deterioration, and make sure that it's got integrity before we commit to that action plan. So the code does not allow junctions to be buried, and wires that are energized must be properly terminated or removed. Now, we can't access this wire fully. This cable is passing through the framing here and heads down and over to the right switch. What we are going to do is we're going to abandon it, we're going to patch this up, and at the switch I'm going to physically cut and remove the other end of this cable so that there's no chance that it will become energized in the ceiling. It is what is called dead as a doornail. So I was hoping to swing it into my can light, not long enough. I'm not going to rip the ceiling open for that. We're just going to make it safe. Okay, things happening at other places too, right? It gets busy. Here's the scoop. Homeowner does not want a blank plate on their ceiling in order to maintain this original to the house three-way. So we're going to be able to abandon these wires, abandon a set of those wires, and relocate.
Are you still on the phone?
No, I'm off.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
There's 5 breakers that are labeled kitchen, and I can't hear that.
I'll call. So we left power on long enough so we could trace everything out, and now that we know exactly what every wire does, we're ready to fully kill power to this lighting circuit, or 2 that we're working on. There are 5 breakers that are all labeled kitchen, which we've talked about that in the past, but that's a code violation. Each breaker has to have a distinct label from every other breaker by code. So kitchen lights, kitchen receptacles northeast, kitchen receptacles southeast, dishwasher, range, disposal, things of that nature. But it's pretty common practice for breakers to be not labeled or poorly labeled. And so what I'm doing right now is I've got my hot stick on the circuit that we want to de-energize, and I'm standing at the top of the basement stairs so I can call down to Cliff, who's at the panel flipping circuits. And one thing to note is if you have a poor quality tester, it is going to err on the side of indicating that there is power even when there's not. This Klein tester has proven to me to be very reliable, but if you're paying like $5 to $10 for a tester as opposed to 20 or 25 for a name brand, a non-contact voltage detector like this, then you could very, very likely get a false read. And that's just picking up potentially some induced voltage or even static electricity. So my job is to wait and call down to the basement when the circuit's de-energized. That's it. Whoa, go back. That's it. All right, let me check around and see if that did everything. I assume it did. Besides our pendant over the table. You know what assuming does. Wah, wah, wah.
You cut it over here too.
Did it?
Yeah.
Is that your computer?
No, my computer's fine.
Oh,
it's
nice.
on battery right now. No, I always just know because whenever the sound machine gets unplugged, then it turns on. So then it just went on.
Okay. Do we? Is there a timeline to turn that back on that we need to be aware of?
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Good. Rocking and rolling. So you see what we're doing there? We're using our continuity tester or resistance tester, and when there's no resistance, we've got continuity, and it chimes a tone. And so what we did is we toned the set of cable, the cable from the switch that's being abandoned to the light location that's being abandoned, and we're going to maintain the other one for the switch leg for the ceiling lights. I'm going to, while I've got this opened up, go ahead and put the dimmer switch in. Oh, here it is. We've got a Lutron LED dimmer. This is a standard side slide or Ariadne style, and that's going to be compatible with our LED lights. Most reputable manufacturers will have an LED dimmer compatibility chart where you can either enter your LED model number and find the compatible dimmer or vice versa. So we've got a dimmer and overhead lights that'll be good. If you don't determine compatibility, then you'll get malperformance and malpractice. No, that's where you turn the dimming down and then the lights start to flutter or flicker because there's science behind that, but that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to take care of this dimmer switch. Again, I'm mindful, before I take the switch apart, I'm mindful of my hot conductor. And in this case, I am taking out a 3-way switch. It's only being utilized as a single pole, and I'm putting in a dimmer switch. That is truly a single pole. And so I want to use the right, it's tight. I want to use the right conductors so that up is on and down is off, and it's not inadvertently inverted. And that really is just matching the traveler or switch leg of choice here to the switch leg of choice in the ceiling. And that's all I'm going to say on that. See, when you go from 3-way to single pole, you're going to end up with an extra conductor. So that conductor, we're going to cap it on both ends, tuck it out of the way. This old wiring, you do really have to be careful because it's fragile. It can break. And you want to make sure, especially with the metal box, when you tuck it back in there, the copper's not going to make contact with the metal box. What I am going to do is I'm going to open up this old joint as opposed to just utilizing the spare conductor, because I don't want to put myself at risk for a callback if this joint is bad, because it's been manipulated today. And if there's anything, I'm just going to cut it off actually and pigtail it.
Why don't you just grab real quick and grab some chapstick in Mommy Daddy's room? You go Mommy Daddy's room? Are you looking? Mr. Walsman.
Hi, Charlotte. Pretty outfit. See, I would just cut it off. You saw me hesitate there, but actually, the conductors are so short, and I'm going to go through the effort of opening it up to maintain as much conductor length as possible. Peel that old tape off. Using my side cuts and just nibbling, maintain as much conductor as possible. It's probably a old tape and solder joint. It used to actually, back in the day, used to actually melt lead on job sites and dip, that's right, dip the conductors in molten lead to make joints. And that, in my opinion, sounds like a pretty darn good joint. Just extremely dangerous and time consuming. There it is. All right, that's what I wanted. Yeah, that's a pretty solid joint right there, but you just never know. All right, so that's our hot. That's gonna be pigtailed. That's my hot, that's capped. Conductor length is so short, I'm gonna take an additional pigtail. I'm gonna tie it into that hot joint. That's a hot into the box and a hot pass out of the box. So I need to maintain that connection, but I'm gonna add this pigtail. I don't wanna overdo that. I'm gonna add this pigtail. And that's gonna service my dimmer switch. Lo and behold, look, it is a 3-way dimmer. I'm gonna use the connections on the right here. The uncommon, the common is the uncommon color. That's confusing. 2 brass terminals, those are for my travelers. This, it's almost like a rose gold, is for my hot. So that's where this one ties in here. It's too tight. Man, I'm rusty today. Shoot. These dimmer switches haven't converted to the #1 Robertson. Shout out to you Canadians, every chance I get. Or #2 Phillips. It's kind of clunky. Come on, Lutron. Do it, baby. All right. So that's wired up. Now I need to get my ground to the box. And I think I see my candidate right there. I think that's him. Bend my shepherd's hook clockwise, ready. Go ahead and put it on my screw. You know, if I pinch that down too, it'll help it hold my screw since I don't have a captive screwdriver. Kind of lined up. Come on. Pretty tight. Oh, pretty tight. All right, there's a conductor there. I'm going to kind of push out of the way. You can't use self-tappers for grounding. That's a code violation, but what I am going to have to do is tap it out. I will not be able to force it in there. So grab the tap set, let's go. All right, so this is my handy dandy little Klein tap set. Pretty nice, little case. Link in the description. And it's gonna have all your standard electrical sizes. In this case, for grounding, 10-32, it's a drill tap in one. I really only need the tap function because there's already the hole there. Let's see how this goes. Virtually no resistance. It was so close. Those threads were just old and crusty. You can only push so hard. That box is having a lot of bounce and play. Come on. Right there. All right, there it is. All right, much ado about very little. Now I'm going to put in a dummy switch there, and I'm going to tape my switch up. There it is. Jesus' name. I'm just not doing anything very well today. Oh. I don't know why I thought that would be long enough. That's all I need. Really just worried about the outside edge and the metal box. Easy with those old conductors. Easy, easy. All right, and then you've got that blue dial, plus minus to finesse the control, and that's a dim up down control. If you're getting a little bit of flicker, flutter, you can use that blue dial right there and adjust the performance of the dimmer to try to better fit the lights. In this case, our lights are LED retrofits and 6-inch remodel cans. I like the diversity that's capable in a can light. You can get a lot of different trim styles, as opposed to a wafer light. You know, if the wafer goes out of style, you're replacing the whole thing. But if the trim goes out of style and you want to update, it's just a plug and play, like screwing in a light bulb. So I think it's got a little bit more long-term shelf life, longer shelf life, if you will. Okay, there we go. We'll test once the power's back on. All right, so we are going to turn the power back on to get power to the homeowner's internet, their router. And so I'm just going to put a piece of tape over this as a visual reminder while we're working on the circuit to prevent tampering. What's taking place here is I went on an estimate for electric vehicle charging at a condo downtown. Cliff's been here working away. There's a fire block. Older home, always running into those fire blocks. Right here. I'm ready for you, Cliff. And he's got fish stick up the wall. Oh man, you are close. I'm seeing dust flying. So he's drilled a hole up from the basement. Oh man. All right, you need to go closer to the back of the wall from my perspective. What Cliff has done is he's drilled the hole at an angle through the fire block, and he's drilled it real close to the stud. Risk there is you'll run into nails and eat up your bit, but the advantage is run that fish stick up the wall right along the stud, and then you know you're real close as opposed to being out somewhere in the void. Oh, stop! I saw you for a second. Then I've got a probe where I can manipulate his fish stick. All right, you're too far forward. Can you go further back? Kind of want a small flashlight as an electrician so you can eyeball. Yep, hold it. Eyeball right down it. Oh, that's not quite long enough. All right. Nope. Watch the ceiling. That's a little bit long. A little bit too long. Hello. No, that's too bulky. It's like I've never done this before. All right, nothing like a little piece of number 12 solid. I'm gonna bend just a little hook on there, straighten it out, more or less. Get my hat out of the way. What I'm gonna do, my job is to guide him into the hole. All right, back pressure off ever so slightly. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, now push up. There it is. I got it. All right, I'm gonna tie your number 12 on up here. Can you hold it right there? Yeah. All right, don't move. Communication, and if you think of the value, right, monetary value of the fish stick right there, it's pretty significant. 2 electricians working for, plus Cliff's prep time, you know, working for 15 minutes to get this in here, just right. Not quite that long, but you know, that's a $50 element right there. What am I trying to say? I've got a straight end. I'm just gonna tape it on. So you never want to lose your fish. When you've got it, keep it, protect it. This fish stick is pretty flexible, and that's a plus for some circumstances and a minus for others. So we have some that are pretty rigid and they push real well, like through insulation, bat insulation and stuff. And we've got some that are real flexible. And you just want to have a variety of tools for a variety of circumstances. And what I'm doing now is I'm smoothing, primarily not just securing them and stretching that tape a little bit, but I'm smoothing the leading edges, because we might need to pull it back if it gets hung up, and in that case this becomes a leading edge when we're coming back. So, all right, he's got it. I can tell, I could feel it penetrate here and there. So he's gonna pull enough in the basement to go down around any obstructions and come back up to this box. Woo, there he goes. And I'm taking the twist out. So we've got a good straight smooth pull. Cliff has been busy while we're gone, and he has got 1, 2, 3 of our can lights cut in. Right here we bumped into a water pipe, and so we're gonna move it over. Got approval from the homeowner on that change of location. Good. I'll cut this one in. You can cut that one in, or what's next?
Okay.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Putting the remodel box in here.
I got a screw through the side because I'm guessing it's,
Okay.
Yep. Or you want
I'm
to
assuming there's another fire block here. So
cut it, open it up, cut it out, abandon the wire. Let's do it.
are we gonna try and match the height of that switch over there? If we're gonna be kind of
I'd say within the confines of what we've got.
right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, it's nice in that there is a second floor up here, but what we've got
You're still here.
is a knee wall space. So the roof line comes down out here. So this is an unutilized knee wall, and we're gonna be able to fish our wire to a certain point without cutting any more relay holes, but then we'll have to get creative over there where the knee wall stops.
I only got 10.
So I'm exploring both the depth.
There's still lots of good stuff.
All right, now before I cut it, I probe it. What do you think this is, Cliff? It's a plaster board, isn't it? It's like
It's 2 layers.
3/4 total thickness.
Oh, it's probably at least an inch. It's,
Wow.
I think it's drywall on top of plaster or something.
All right. All right, I like it. I just wanted to make sure we didn't, start cutting around and then boom, hit a stop where that framing was. So on this project, we've already covered a couple different cosmetic dynamics with the customer. We knew when we pulled the fixtures down, there was likely going to be a faded ring, kind of a rim of dust. You could see the difference in the ceiling between what has been exposed to UV and what has not, and the fading. Usually underneath the fixture, either it's bright white or sometimes it can be darkened because of the heat of the fixture, but that's only in the case of old incandescents. And so as well as the holes that we're cutting and the patching, this kitchen ceiling is continuous all the way out into the hallway. And so it's a fairly large area that's affected, and that's just an upfront conversation to have with your customer to make sure that you understand what the cosmetic effects will be and whose responsibility they are. We are not responsible for painting, but I did volunteer to bring in our preferred contractor for patching. And again, that's a value. A lot of people don't have a trusted drywaller or plaster guy. And if you do, and you've got the relational leverage through a long-term ongoing relationship with this guy to make sure that he's performing, to make sure there's that accountability, and it's not just, whatever the heck, how he feels to treat a one-off customer. There's a lot of kind of protection in that model for the customer, and that's who you want to protect. So that metal box has got a mounting flange, and we're going to fully remove the box, one, because we've got undoubtedly a fire block below that box, and it's face fastened by nails into that stud. So we're going to remove the box. That cable's being abandoned. It'll no longer be fed, and at this point we've signed up to patch and repair the wall as well, which is fine. It was in the budget. We didn't know it was going to be at that location, but it's worth it. Out with the old, in with the new. All right, this is, it's like 3/4, 7/8 plasterboard. It's pretty heavy to cut with this, but 6-inch hole saw is just so, 6 3/8 is just so rough and rugged. One thing you want to do is make sure that you understand your kerf and whether your cut is on the inside or outside of that line. My saw is on the inside of the line. And then secondly, I always cant a little bit to the outside so that, because you can inadvertently fall inside a little bit such that your hole actually narrows and then you're back to recutting. So cut generously, cut once. All right. And then take that puck out of there by hand. You don't want that thing falling and chipping the edge of the fridge on the way down. Here you go. Oh, yeah, it's aggressive. All right, trial fit. Hello. A little bit snug. It's gonna work. All right, fish our wire next. All right, with the remodel can lights, they've got the arm, the junction box arm. So the wire doesn't need to come here. It needs to go potentially that far, plus enough to make terminations, because that arm, I'll show you here in a minute. And so you don't cut it short. Give myself a little extra there. We've got plenty. We're matching the wire size to the circuit, the breaker, in this case 15 amp, so 14 gauge wire. That's pretty common for lighting, the most common situation for lighting. Let's get another wire tied onto our fish sticks, and round 2 of 5. Keep poking around on the framing until you find the path of least resistance, and then take it. Every framing member that is running parallel to your wire path is a causeway, and every perpendicular framing member is an obstruction. So Cliff had the great idea of, there's just a bit of flooring material up there. He landed the fish stick on top of the flooring and then utilized that as his pathway, as opposed to trying to take the free air and get stuck on the perpendicular framing members. So parallel, not perpendicular. All right, you want to cut it there, Cliff, and then we'll keep going? Sometimes fishes are easier from one direction versus the other. If you don't get it one way, reverse it, and then at some point when you both understand what the framing obstructions are and you can see things from both ends, if you will, with your sense of touch, then you can kind of collaborate a little bit more and talk about what you're feeling and seeing up there. Boom, then it's a done deal. It wants to get caught as it goes, so just wiggle on the feeding end. Really getting caught is more of a feature of the cheap, flexible fish sticks. There we go. So we think that this cuts straight across the ceiling, and we find it over there. Now it could be something else. It could be receptacles for the second floor or what have you. But what I'm gonna try to do is, I'm gonna cut one square out. I'm gonna intercept it. I'm gonna peel it back and free. And if you've worked with BX cable, you know how that idea is a bit of a stretch, but it'd be real clean if it worked out. And then I'll end up with about 3 feet here, and I'll send it that way and tie it into this can light. Boom, done. And we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 holes to patch with a 5, really 5 total for the job. So not too bad. It's always the kind of thing we could do it with less, but it would take more time. You know, fewer holes, more time, more holes, fewer time, generally speaking. So finding that balance. based upon your skill sets. All right, I'm here, Cliff. I hear you poking around. I'm gonna drill one more hole. BTW, give me a sec. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, I've got plenty. Do you want me to take more?
Yeah, go ahead and take the slack.
Take the slack.
A little bit more.
All right, you want to leave a little bit of working wire in the basement, but you don't want to have big coil or loop. So I took the slack, we'll cut it there. This was a scrap of 12/2, so we're making good use of a 250-foot bundle with probably a 5-foot scrap on each end. Left total. So this box is the box of choice for this location because we're right up against the stud, and see how the hole is blown out. This is a box that is UL listed to be screwed through the side. You can't just do this to any old box, which is how that old box was mounted. But this one's going to be real solid, easy, and secure. And being so easy, we're going to be able to bring it out to box face. Box face match finished surface face, so we get a good clean install. Pop the connectors in. We're going to pop the connectors into the used and unused openings. Leftovers here, it's nice that it comes with those features. I'm going to strip back my 8 or 9 inches. 6 from the point of wire entry is code minimum for this situation. A minimum of 1/4 inch outer jacket into the box. I would say that would be measured from starting here back, so minimum 1/4 inch. We don't want too much more than that or you start creating congestion in the box. All right, we're in. And I've chosen to come in the top side because we have the fire block on the bottom side. I didn't want to be that jammed. We had plenty of wire, we had extra. That old cable is defunct. So now that's how we're gonna land. And what I'm gonna do is measure the other switches and get as close as I can here to match that without making the hole more garbage. 51.5?
Yeah.
Nice. I might even open it up a bit. Ooh, there it is. Oh, quite a bit. 51.5. All right, let's make sure we're clear. $51.5
to the mounting holes.
To the mounting holes. Good qualifier. Ooh, goes. All right, that's our spot. Now actually I've got plenty of space. I'll bring it in the bottom side. Nope, scratch that. Stick to the plan, stick to the plan. I like the plan.
I can do that for you later.
There it is.
Not right now.
The code does say that a device yoke must be held rigidly at the finished surface. So what this box is going to do is exactly that. It'll be dialed in. Boom. There it is. Excuse me. So obviously, we want to make safe our work. Even though the finish isn't done, we're going to put the switch in for a small remodel job like this, and we're going to put the plate on, And we're gonna give it a good clean finish to keep the user safe until that patch and repair is done. I've got a clear path to completion at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and call my drywaller, just in case there's the off chance he's gonna be able to get out here today while the dust control is still in place, because he'll have all this patched up and textured in under 2 hours. So we could definitely work around him. I probably could have called him sooner, but at this point, let's get it rocking. Take a look at this. It's my understanding, see that the color of that copper, that is probably just a different run, man. It's almost purplish, reddish, as opposed to that traditional orange. Very interesting. Make sure I have my switch in the proper orientation. Tuck the wires, don't mash them. We've got past videos that'll give a lot more instruction about some of the finer points of terminating a switch or a device similar to this. Check our playlist out. This is the existing switch. It's in great shape, so we're just reusing it over here. Would use a new switch if there's any sign or indication of defect. And actually the bottom of the box did pull in a little bit with that screw, so I'm gonna put a spacer right there and just boom, nail it. All right, look at that little spacer. Comes in strips, and I just tore off a single piece. You can put them in 2s and 3s, they snap together. And all I'm gonna do is slip it behind that yoke. This is a non-combustible surface material, so I have by code up to a 1/4 inch of space between of exposure, effectively. There it is. All right, as soon as that finished material is in there, it'll hold that plate right where we want it. And we give it a rub down. That's that existing plate. All right, so the switch for this pendant was located right here in the middle of the wall section with a table right in front of it. Not convenient. So the big picture is homeowner wanted to have the switch by the door. Makes a ton of sense, real convenient. The hot feed is in the light box, which is code compliant. And then there's a switch and return, a hot and a switch leg return to this location. So all we're doing is we are continuing the hot and the switch leg return from this location down into the basement, over and up, so that we didn't have to get through 3 different 16 on center full dimension 2x4s and tear up this wall. So it's real clean, took a little extra time, but it did avoid probably $80, $100 worth of repairs. And anytime I can leave a wall intact with its original integrity, that's a plus. So you may have noticed at this switch, we did land the white wire on the terminal screw of the switch, because the white wire in this case is not a neutral. There is no neutral at this or this location. Now, I believe, I can't remember which code cycle first required neutrals at switching locations, but that is not enforced in our jurisdiction. And so we're able to have a hot and a return feed. And so this is going to be a straight color to color pass through. White to white, black to black, ground to ground. Non-metallic boxes, so we're not grounding the boxes. And I'll be utilizing that remodel box, tucking it inside, and good clean finish with a blank per the homeowner request, a little bit more cost effective. See, what you cannot do is you can't just make up these wires without a box with a cover, or stuff them inside the wall and patch over them. That's a code violation, because every electrical connection must be permanently accessible without damaging the finished surface or the building structure. So we're gonna go with that. So you're also asking, right, why are 12 and 14 gauge wire at the same junction box? Because that's a abnormality. What we've got here is we selected our wire based upon the breaker size, and that's what we had in place. And then we found out, oh, 14 gauge wire on a 20 amp breaker. So this 12 gauge is going to end up being overkill because we're going to probably downsize the breaker so that all the wire is properly protected according to the National Electrical Code. The thing that can get a little crunchy there is if the breaker has substantial load on it, it could start tripping with a downsized breaker because it just lost 25% of its capacity. And so a customer, if you don't explain that detail to them and what you're doing and why you're doing it, then it comes back to the kind of thing like, well, it was fine before, it never tripped before, it's your fault. And in reality, you know, you improve the situation from a safety standpoint, but it became less convenient. So you just have to navigate those waters and make sure that you communicate. We say do not communicate like a tradesman. Communicate like you are the customer's realtor. That's what they're looking for, that level of proactive, clear, articulate, friendly, unbiased, professional communication. If you do that, your reputation will spread like wildfire. Okay, so the reason I'm not pre-twisting in this case, because you guys are going to call me out because you know how big I am on the pre-twist, is because I've got differently sized conductors and this 12 gauge is not going to wrap around the 14 real well. So what I am doing is matching the ends and then giving it a tug test at the end to make sure that both the larger and the smaller conductor grabbed, because the tendency will be just that 12 gauge really getting wrapped in there and that 14 just kind of twisting and getting pushed back because it's more fragile. So we're good. Solid. Ooh. So I just did a test fit with the can light before I get the wires all connected up, and then I have to come back and cut the hole larger. It's a good fit, so I'm gonna rock and roll. Cut back my 6-inch code minimum. I always go a little closer to 8. I've got plenty of wire up here. Wire's cheap. Small wire's cheap. Big wire's expensive right now. Oh my goodness. 300% increase in an 8-month period of time. That is wild. Never before seen that I've seen. So this is a 6-inch remodel can light. That's that offset junction box to can, and that's the reason I left so much more wire. In case there's an obstruction here that I hadn't noticed, I'm able to spin this neck around from this direction to that direction. I've got versatility, and that's what you want to leave yourself, is versatility. Promptly throw away the instructions. When all else fails, read the instructions. No, that's not the best policy. I admire some of you out there, very detailed, intelligent, prudent people. One of our team members was the 2019 ABC National Champion. No joke. Smartest, best, #1 apprentice in America. The dude is sharp. we've got these little knockouts on the back side. You just stick your small flat head in here, work them back and forth, but they're pretty flimsy. And they're not popping out. All right, try again. Different approach. Come on. There it goes. I need 2 of them.
Show me, Joel.
Did you got your wire nets?
Yeah. And then there's an internal catch right there. Now you might ask, why are we not stapling any of our wires? And the reason is the code allows for fishing NM cable and most types of cable through voids. And that's exactly what we've done is we have fished the wire. And so the stapling requirements have been removed because the code expectation is not to remove finished surfaces in order to apply staples or to try to swing a hammer in a hole like this. So we have got some leniency from the code, the National Electrical Code in that regard. So this is real straightforward. I'm going to strip these back 3/4 of an inch. We're going to make them up color to color. We're going to have 3 conductors under each wire net. The feed in, the feed out, and the can light itself. And we are going to pre-twist these for a good tight fit. Use yellow, tan, or red wire nuts. Just make sure the wire nuts, the wire connectors you're utilizing are rated for the type, size, and number of conductors for your situation. That's the standard. That's the standard right there. Make sure the wire connectors are rated for the type, copper or aluminum, size, this gauge, 14 gauge, and there it is. And then also make sure that the other associated instructions along with every wire connector are being followed, i.e. torque rating, indoor, outdoor, moisture. All those considerations are being taken. Make sure my wire nuts are dust free. I don't want anything to inhibit a good connection. And then I'm going to be real suspicious of these small stranded conductors because those strands are incredibly tiny. I don't like that wire nut. I didn't realize that's a reuse of an old wire nut. I don't reuse old wire nuts. This is the point of failure right here. If you get this wrong, you've got a callback on your hands. And the wire nuts are what, 10 cents a piece? That is not worth a callback. All right, tug test that small stranded. That's what you got to know. All right, see that? Take those strands, twist them around, get it in there. Be really skeptical of that small stranded conductor and tug test it. You can tug on those things hard. They should not pull out. Should not pull out. All right, we're in there. All right, one quick note, be conscious of your wire pattern in the ceiling, because if you end up with too many conductors at one location, you will have to, you'll overfill the J-box and you'll create a code violation. So in this case, we have no more than 3 sets of conductors coming into one can light. And the rating here, it says maximum of 4 number 12 gauge through branch conductors permitted in Junction box. And I don't see any others.
I'm keeping this fixture, this old fixture. That's
So
here.
just be mindful.
We were supposed to, but want to keep the cameras.
It's adjustable in terms of how high it goes. Let me know so we can kind of figure out.
Yep, for sure. You don't want it to look this one.
All right. So one thing I'm encountering is, see the profile of that clip? There's only a 1/2 inch differential from here to there, but this thickness is almost an inch. So what I'm gonna do is remove the clip and open it up a little bit because I need some relief. There's too much resistance. They should spring out relatively easily. And so I'm gonna open it up and take that pressure off and then insert it to the can again. Because if you push too hard, you'll end up blowing out a hole. There it is. Oh, almost.
That's cool.
We're gonna go downstairs, but I need to hold you.
Rinse and repeat. You want a good tight fit up to the wall surface. If the rim of your can gets bent, and then it bent up or down, and it's not true to the surface, then what you'll do is you'll either push your can down out of the ceiling a little bit, or you'll push your LED retrofit down and you won't get a good tight fit. If you've got a bit of stipple, like right there, there's kind of a mountain, a peak, real subtle. Just knock that down, because that too will cause a little bit of gapping there. It's just an aesthetic issue, but your homeowner will pick up on it and you want to beat them to it. Particularly while you still have all the plastic up before you do the great reveal and they say, what's with the gap? So as they say in Britain, mind the gap. Guard the finished surface. I would not advise putting it face down. So what I've got here is the Edison base. Screw that into the light socket. Take your clip. Only fits in one way. I will caution you that some older can lights or various brands of can lights are not going to be friendly. Either the diameter of the can will be off or it won't have those mounting clips. But these Junos are pretty nice for it. And then there is enough slop and play that you want to make sure you get it lined up. But here I've got two places where the finished surface has gotten nicked. So I'm going to take photos of that, share it with Jose, and just get a little touch up. Again, this whole ceiling is going to be painted, and a little touch up like that, he'll probably just finger it in there and be real quick. Hardly no effect to the bill. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna grab this cable, which I think is cutting across here. I'm gonna cut a hole, intercept it, pull it out, and into that can light. So it's a bet. Well, let's see if we win the bet. Woo! So heavy, but I didn't expect it to give way that quickly. Oh, wow. Check it out. It's pretty rich. Check this out. Can I give you that? Ironic. So there had already been a patch here. And now there's a beautiful J-box there, or lack thereof. All right, so we got two things going on here. One is we did find our BX cable, beautiful. And the second is now we've got a problem. Now we've got a small problem. All right. But we can fix the problem. Very interesting. So we're still in this attic space at this point, and I can see the back of a receptacle box up there. That's where this wire is going, and then this one is going to that light. So we can eliminate this by refeeding from that light continuously up to that receptacle. So we'll just get a new feed pulled across there. This is perfect timing before we had that light back up. Real clean, real clean. Got lucky on that one. So the reason I wasn't concerned cutting through the ceiling, one, I didn't know this was here. Could have very easily whacked the heck out of that guy. But then two, this BX cable, it's real heavy, and being metal, you'll hear it, the blade against the metal. And then usually it's run through the center of framing. I mean, it could be something quirky where it's down low enough that the blade could catch it, but again, you'd feel it. But this guy, I didn't know about this guy. And that is one benefit of a drywall saw, is you feel everything you're running into. And you know why this was so hard? There's a metal lab up there. I didn't feel that. It's lightweight enough. I didn't feel that. So we got a plan though. I like it. All right, so here's the little mini rat's nest we found tucked up there. Check this out, this plumbing pipe. Ooh, not even connected. You see that right there? That's just fascinating. It is completely filled up. That is dried yuck from 100 years. Corroded right off. But this is two things. One, I'm gonna feed, I've got a wire tied on the other end here. I'm just gonna try to, I'm gonna hope it's not stapled. I'm gonna hope it pulls. Ooh, it's a little bit tight. I hope it feeds.
That box is screwed in.
Oh, okay, so we could get it opened up if we need to. I thought that was gonna just peel right out of there, you know what? Naive, naive, naive. Come on. Open up here. I'm not worried about damaging that cable because I'm pulling it out. It's the defective step cousin. All right. Nope. Definitely gonna need Cliff's hand with that. All right, let's try to pull this one out. It's gonna do it. It's gonna go. But it's gonna be a fight. Getting better. Yeah. There it is. That's our switch leg. This is what we wanted. Over here to this can light. Oh, it's long enough. Looks like it's gonna be good. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna bring it in, make it up. Right there. Sweet. I'm gonna put an anti-short bushing right in there with a metallic connector and one of those knockouts. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and open up the screws on my MC connector. The MC connector is unique from a Romex connector in that it's got that face right there that creates a stop for the steel jacket. So my BX gets an anti-short bushing right into, come on, it's tight. Protect it from that metal edge. So this steel ribbon right here, oh, most of it broke off. It's my understanding that you want to take that, double it back, and then just wrap it up along the, ooh, I don't quite like that. There, wrap it up. Math man, I bet you could tell us what that's for in the comments below. Okay, I'll make sure I'm clamping down squarely onto the jacket. And I'm not. Open it up. Get it on there a little bit further. I think that'll do. Old crusty wire. So this rat's nest, we found out, was being fed hot feed from a receptacle upstairs to this illegal junction in the ceiling that we accidentally uncovered over to that light. So what we're doing is we're replacing all of it. So we've got a new feed from the light that's going to go up to the receptacle, so we will not have a junction on this wire. We will eliminate this code violation and safety hazard. So that'll be real clean when we're done, and this will come out. Next step is to go upstairs, remove the receptacle, remove the violating wire, and install the new wire that's continuous from point A to point B, that light to that receptacle. All right, so that blue box that you're seeing, that's the receptacle in question. We're gonna take it apart from the other side and fish our wire up and tie it back into that box. And that'll be the feed to our kitchen light. All right, let me give you a lesson in integrity real quick. I love this. We have a new recruit. His wife works in the office. He came from appliance repair, and we were working together on a job site. He cracked my dustpan. See that? This dustpan is still pretty functional, but you know what he did? I didn't say a word. I didn't flinch. I didn't make a face. Nothing. Things happen. Very next time I see him, he's got me a brand new dustpan. Doesn't say a word, hands it to me. That, my friends, that's integrity at work. When you value someone else's time, someone else's investment, someone else's money, as much or more than your own. That dude, as long as he's working for me, he's got a job. There's no question. That's integrity at work. I love the guy. All right, so we had lighting, overhead lighting, that the homeowners did not like. The color was wrong and the distribution of light was poor. And so the new distribution of light was decided upon in collaboration between Daryl, Kirsten, and me. And what we concluded is we wanted to illuminate the work surfaces as opposed to the walkways. So the former lights were in the walkways, and when you're standing at the counter, the light is to your back and the shadow is on your work surface. So this distribution of light will put it where it's needed. In addition to that, 2700 Kelvin is the color temperature of the light. That's preferred by the homeowner, was specifically called out. The lighting that was existing, we had a 6000 Kelvin and a 5000 Kelvin approximately, and it created a two-tone lighting pattern for not the best effect. This being a beautiful kitchen, really wanted to elevate that standard. The light bulb in the fixture will match with 2700 Kelvin as well. And running through some quick costs, fixture replacement, you can expect probably $85 in cost for a standard simple fixture. Switch relocation, about $150, $200. Overhead lighting at about $250 a piece. Fixture replacement of this type, same in that $100 range. And then all in repairs, we're gonna run about $300, but you better know what your subcontractor is gonna charge you. Typically there's a flat rate to show up, there's a per hole cost, and then there's an adder for texture because that's an additional stage and step in the process. So all in, dust control, that's key for the homeowner experience. Right now, with that plastic we had, all the work surfaces, this is dark granite, it looks perfectly clean, so that's a big win. And then the final detail cleanup, you're not a Mary Maid, but by golly, every extra effort, every little corner that's clean will be recognized, and that's critical for your reputation. Check out our next video right here for more angles on more lighting upgrades, and subscribe to Electric Pro Academy for real skills to make real money.